Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so rapid fire. Thinking about some things because I'm looking at the Utah Jazz and I realize they just beat the Memphis Grizzlies again. Now, they didn't already beat the Memphis Grizzlies once 2 nights ago by one, and then turned around and handed it to them on their own floor. On in Utah, they came back home after beating them on their own floor. So tonight, Lauri Markkanen and all those guys are passing and shooting. They look so good out there. And I'm just saying to myself, you're running into a bit of a problem there, Danny Ainge. I keep saying it. These guys are going to ruin your chance at Victor Wembanyama. Now, what I'm starting to sense is that there are a couple teams that we weren't expecting to tank that could be looking to do so. The Miami Heat are 2-4 right now, and I'm wondering if they plan on having a losing season and try to get involved in this thing. Even though you know dang well they got the talent not to have that happen. The Houston Rockets seems like they still are a team that's not quite ready to win. I wonder if they'll take their foot off the gas. You know, um, the Orlando Magic is another team, same situation. Even though they got the young Paolo kid who's going crazy, they're still not quite ready to win yet. I wonder if they see the fruit in just not making the playoffs. See, these are things I'm looking at. Some of these teams, it's like, I'm not so sure, especially since I know they have their own picks. And the fact that they have their own picks, it's like they may try. They may try to just secretly just tank it out. And then I look at the Utah Jazz and I say, are you guys sure? Are you sure what you're doing is the best move for yourself? Now, granted, I am definitely the same guy who said don't over tank because, you know, the NBA has done a fantastic job of keeping the balance between the bottom three teams, in regards to getting the first overall pick. So, it's not just as simple as being bad and expecting to get the best odds, not necessarily. So, I do think that with that in mind, maybe Utah just has a different strategy. And that strategy could be to keep all of the players on this team playing well so that they can sell them for high prices. You know, I always talk about the player value and making sure the players on your team look good so that you can maintain strong positioning in your trade. Making sure the systems that they have in place are built so that they can look good if you're looking to make moves. Because if you got a bunch of players that look bad on your team and you're trying to move them, no one's going to take trash from you. So I think that's one strategy. Looking at the Utah Jazz, they're all playing well right now. Everybody's up. Everybody's values in the green. So if you're Danny Ainge, you're sitting there with a bunch of picks, bunch of players playing well, and it's so early in the season to where you could say, you know what, I don't have to worry about them winning right now. Um, as long as we can look up and we find ourselves in a bad position come January and February, that's what matters. You don't have to panic this early. Right now, guys are playing well. We can keep them playing well, keep them looking good, and then probably trade them at the deadline or something like that. But what I'm saying is, just like the Lakers don't have time for that kind of stuff if they want to salvage their season, the very, very opposite is in place for the Utah Jazz. You do not want too many wins to start piling up to where you don't really have odds at being one of the bottom three teams in the league. You don't want to look up and be like a team that's kind of like a team that's in the play-in basically, or just right outside of the play-in. You kind of want to be worse than that if you really want a shot at Wembanyama, in my humble opinion. You don't. The play-in team has a very bad shot at getting him. That's all I'm saying. And it looks like the Utah Jazz are trying to be that or even better, and I just don't. I don't think that's good. Now I know the fan base is excited because most people don't know who Wembanyama is yet, and if they do, they're not on board like that. They don't. They're more so tired of losing. They're tired of having a Utah Jazz team that was different, kind of archaic in nature, and they're excited about having a team that they thought wasn't going to be any good that is actually blowing everybody out. So at this point, it's like you don't have a fan base like the Utah Jazz who pride themselves on winning. Even though they don't have a championship just yet, they've been to the finals. They've battled against Michael. They've had guys that wore the uniform with pride. I don't think that you can tell that fan base that tanking is something they should want to do now after they've tasted a little success to start the season. Especially since they've been in the playoffs for the last several years. Even if the team wasn't that great, they were still getting it done. So they're a proud bunch. They're an excited bunch. They're happy. And I don't think most of them even know about No Wembanyama. So that's a tricky situation if you're Danny Ainge and Dwayne Wade and those guys. You know, I don't think anything should keep them from getting Wembanyama. Not fan bases being happy, not good players in high value, and the whole thing just looking beautiful on the chessboard as it pertains to your asset class. I don't think any of that, in my mind, is actually truly worth not getting Victor Wembanyama. Now, maybe I'm looking at that wrong, because there's obviously a million ways to win a championship, and I said the same thing about my Lakers in regards to LeBron James. Like, look, I can move on from LeBron James, put together a great canvas, get all that stuff that Danny Ainge has, and build a brand new championship team. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. And when you have everything going like Danny has it, he's like, well, if we don't get Victor, I can still build something special. And you should definitely have that in mind. But if the goal is to get Victor, then you got to really understand that you're in the risk of not getting Victor. I think that's the gist of the thought. You got to see how all it is, puts that at risk. So that's what I've been preaching on this channel in regards to the Utah Jazz. And look, there's a very good chance you get Victor there, and he's not what you thought. Maybe it just don't pan out for whatever strange reason. I can't imagine that, but I couldn't imagine it about certain other players that came along and didn't make it either. It's the truth. This is just a fact. So it may be best to do things the right way, which is definitely the way Utah's doing it, and good things come of that. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to miscalculate what it is you're looking at. Because if this team ain't actually as good as they're playing right now, which they're probably not, then you'll find yourself overestimating how long they can keep this up, how long they can all stay healthy, exactly how far the upside goes for a guy like Markkanen or a guy like Vanderbilt. And, also the understanding that most of the fan base isn't aware of Wembanyama yet. And if they were as understanding about this kid as I am right now, they would be like, nah, we need to blow this up even further. We blew it up, but we didn't blow it up enough because we're still winning, and that's a problem. Like, that's how serious of a prospect Wembanyama actually appears to be to me. And probably a billion other minds who are going to be aware of him over the next 5 million years if people go back and watch his videos and footage of him and what he's going to be doing in the NBA, because that is an historical figure right there. I can tell you, just off his height and his skill set alone, he's going to live forever. So it's one of the type of situations where it's like, all right, you notice that type of prospect. Are you sure you don't want to do everything you can to get him? Because I'll tell you this, if you're Danny Ainge, you're smart enough to build all this, have all this stuff glowing in the green, as I like to call it, all your assets looking great, all these picks, everything is perfect. It's the best situation that you can have for yourself. You built it once, you can build it again. Wembanyama is only coming around once. That's what comes to mind for me from Danny Ainge. So yeah, man, that's one thing I'm looking at. Memphis, do they have anything to be concerned with? I would say they're just a young team going through the motions. It's a road game, and a team probably matchups pretty well with them in Utah with a bunch of young players that can stretch the floor. So, as long as Ja Morant is healthy, I'm not really worried if I'm Memphis. Whatever little ebbs and flows their team is going through, as long as those young players are healthy, they're a contender, simply put. And I love their coaching situation, so I'm not worried about Memphis. They just dropped 2 games against a Utah Jazz team that shouldn't be as good as they are. They're a good team. 6-2. That's not a fluke. I think if you hold on to this team and don't do nothing, they may actually be this good. Like, for real. You look at Markkanen, the shooters, and Olynyk. I mean, I said I don't know, but that's because of the health expectancy I have of a guy like Olynyk. The health expectancy I have of a guy like Sexton. The health expectancy I have of a guy like Markkanen. But if they all stay healthy, them dudes are shooters. They're killers. I already know that you're going to have trouble defending the perimeter against this team. And I also know they have a bunch of young other players that have a lot of upside, just like we said in regards to Oklahoma. Lottery picks and stuff like that. They got that kind of stuff. So it's like when you're dealing with the Utah Jazz, and of course players like Conley and Clarkson, who are vets who are looking to win. They're not looking to play games with anybody. They're looking to take over and continue their careers at a high level. So I just don't like the chances the Utah Jazz have of either winning a championship this season or getting Victor Wembanyama next season, based on what I'm seeing. And that's a hell of a thing to say, because a championship should obviously not even be in my mind. But when you look at a team come out in 6-2, now suddenly you're assessing if that's something to consider, and that's big. That's big. Is it something to consider? I don't think so. But numbers don't lie. 6-2 is real. They're beating people. That's a fact. That's just happening. And the fans are excited. The culture looks brand new. I love the floor and the color scheme with the black on it. I love the blue, as you guys know as well. I think that's my favorite floor in the league right now. So everything about what they're doing is fantastic. As I told you guys earlier, I wasn't kidding. I'd trade my entire team for the Utah Jazz right now. Just put everybody and all their picks in purple and gold. Bring them all back. Even THT. Bring them all back. Send everybody we got to Utah so they can continue their struggles trying to be the best interior defensive team ever, or whatever they're going to try to be. And we'll just draft all the good stuff that they're going to be drafting, and have all this wonderful stuff that they can trade for all kinds of expensive stuff if they want to. And they'll have an even more attractive market from which to attract all that stuff. Like, we wish we were the Jazz. Period. Because we know their future is bright, and the canvas is blank, and they can build whatever they want to, and they have the sustainability to undo it if they need to, and do it again if they have to, and still have picks. That's how much flexibility they got right now. So, and Danny Ainge is a shark in place who knows how to get even more of it. It's just like OKC, Utah, Houston, Orlando, Detroit. I don't know how anybody's going to overcome these teams when they start fully blooming. You're in competition with those franchises. If you could, as far as I could tell, in terms of the young talent that's coming into this league, they're going to have it all. They're going to have it all. And what I'm saying is, the Lakers don't necessarily have to be too far behind them. If we blow it all up and start our process like Danny's got going on there. Because if you look at where Utah was not too long ago, their pieces didn't look as valuable as ours do right now. Donovan Mitchell shouldn't have gone for as much as he did. We know Rudy Gobert shouldn't have gone for as much as he did. But when you have a shark in place, as I say, good things can happen. Somebody who understands what they need to do to get not only a good team on the floor, but to keep that value of that team high while they're running around. All of this is in place. And they're doing it from Utah. So you know my franchise ain't got no excuses. So that's just what I have to say about the situation, man. I want to acknowledge the Utah Jazz and say I think they're doing things the right way. I think Danny Ainge is really doing an amazing job. Even though I was unhappy about how the summer went, I still kept my eyes on the prize as it pertains to what he was focused on. And see, the results have been raving, as far as I can tell, absolutely raving. And I think he has a good chance of winning the championship as a Utah Jazz exec. I'm gonna declare that right now. I think he's got a good chance at it. Judging by what he's doing and how he's doing it, yeah, he's putting them in a position to really be good, man. It ain't gonna be nothing that's coming overnight, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be sustainable. That's why you build it this way. It ain't about one championship. He should be able to put together something that really works. He'll have competition, but his foundation's gonna be strong in Utah. So that's just what I know. I see it. And I envy it greatly, because ours is the opposite, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to add another team to this situation, but since I've talked so much about the Utah Jazz, I guess I'll just leave it at Utah. But Yeah, man. Give some strong consideration, Danny, to trading some of that stuff. Olenek, Markkinen, Beasley. And those guys are movable. Now, Conley's contract, and nobody in their right mind should want that. But like Clarkson, those guys, yeah, it's a good time to move them. It's a great time to move them. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.